Hey gang, welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It's a beautiful sunny day in Georgia, and it's a good day to start putting parts on the front of the Cobra jet. Now I hope you've been following along on all the videos that I posted about this car. If not, go back and check them out. There's a playlist called Crunchy Cobra Jet. I have other playlists on my channel. I have thousands of videos about Mustangs on my channel. So I recommend you go check all of those out. However, this car is basically a hand-built 69 Mustang. I've used a few parts from an original Cobra Jet car and a whole bunch of dynacorn aftermarket parts. So it takes a lot of work to make all these pieces work together, but I think I've done a pretty good job. Recently I put the stripes on the side. I know some people have said you're supposed to do that last, and I get that. And I want to mention something here. Whenever you put the stripes on, what they're implying is the weight of the door with the glass and everything in it is heavier, so the door is going to be sagging in the back. What I did when I put these doors on, I assembled them with weights in the doors to simulate that, and then I put the strikers in to get them to line up where they're supposed to be. So when these doors open, they actually spring up just a little bit because there's no weight in them. But now the stripes are on where they're supposed to be, and I'm very happy with it. So I'm going to show you what I'm working on today and what the plan is to get this car finished. I do want to point out as well that the fenders that are on this car, these are original 69 Mustang fenders. They're from another car. The ones that I had were no good, so I didn't use them. What I also have are the extensions here. I've talked about these before. I had another set that had contamination problems. This is an original set as well, not aftermarket. I did manage to get all the headlights installed and the trim pieces around the front. So these are ready to go on the car. I also have a new front bumper from Dynacorn. And I have a bunch of pieces and parts out here on my table. This is an original grill. I will probably clean all this up. I may repaint it to give it some better color, but I think I'll be using that grill. I have two new main bumper brackets with hardware and bolts laying there. I've got two new parking lights assembled, so those are also dynacorn pieces, so those will be going on. I have a hardware kit, or what's left of the hardware kit, for the bumper, because I used half of that for the rear bumper. I have side marker lights that are going to go in the front valance, also trim rings. This is a gasket set. These are the gaskets that go on the headlight buckets. I've got a variety of other clips and screws and things that I may need. I have the original shock mounts, and I have the mounting hardware for the shocks. And up here are also at the top, it's new hardware that would be used to mount the shocks. I do have the original bolts, but I may use those because I like the silver. Out here I have the original bumper. Now this was really bad. I mean, you can see it was rusted through completely, not usable at all, but the outer brackets appear to be in good enough shape that I can clean those up and salvage them, and also the brackets that mount to the fender. So I'm going to clean all this up. I will have to probably use a cut-off wheel to cut these bolts loose because there's no way they're going to come out, even though I only need to do these. I don't need to do those. But it also lets you see some of the stuff that goes on in these cars, like these little vibration rubbers. Now this is still on there. I'll probably try to leave it on. I don't know if I could try to take it off and put it back on, but I'm going to have to clean that up and paint it. But it still has both of those, and you can see the location of where they were. Now these would have fit a lot tighter at the factory. This is, you know, years of time have expanded these, and they don't fit quite as well. Another thing I want to point out is the idea that these bumpers, what they ended up doing with them, I like this. On the earlier cars, they had bolts up here. And so on the 69, they were trying to smooth it out. So they did away with those upper bolts. And I can show you what I'm talking about because I have the bumper from a 68 sitting here in my pile of parts. And there is the upper bolt. So it's nice that they did that. They tried to clean that up and make it look nicer. So I will have to cut that apart, save these outer brackets, and clean them up and paint them. So I'm going to get started. Hopefully I can get the extensions on. I know that it is a challenge. There's not a lot of room You know, you don't really, you have a little bit of access through the bottom. There's a bottom hole here to get to this nut or bolt, and then you have the other two. So we'll see if I can get these on without much of a problem. And then I also have the painted rock guard over here. And I should also point out, I forgot to mention this and lay this out, I have the trim. So that is the trim panel that goes on top of the rock guard. I've got a new hood trim, and there's also a trim piece that goes on that rock guard piece as well. So there's a bunch of assembly that's going to happen, and I'm going to try to do as much as I can today. Let's find out. So let me give you some details while I'm here. These brackets, which go to the fender, they don't matter. They can go to either side, doesn't make a difference. These brackets will only fit one side. Now this is the passenger side, and I want to show you this. So I cut the head off of the bolt, right? And there you can see the wave washer underneath, or in between. It would have been in between the bumper and the bracket. And then on this side you would have had a flat washer or a lock washer. So keep that in mind when you're putting this together. The wave washer goes between the bracket and the bumper. And to show you that, here, this is the bolt that I cut off the other side, and this is the washer that was in between the head of the bolt and the bracket. So remember that when you're putting it back together. I'm going to get those cleaned up, get some paint on them, and then I'm going to start working on the other things. Now I know that it would be beneficial maybe to put these in the media blaster, but I also know that my blaster is not that great. So typically what I'll do is go after this stuff with a sanding disc or a wire wheel. So I started with a sanding disc to knock off any of the big rust or stuff like that. And I was making good progress, and I thought, you know what, let's get out the wire wheel. So when I do this, I put on a jacket because those wires will come flying off of that thing and they'll stick in your chest or your belly or whatever. So I put a jacket on, and sure enough, it gets loaded up with those little wires. And as I was cleaning this up, I noticed on the end of the bracket there is a letter R for the right side. And also that weld right there. That weld is meant to hold the anti-vibration piece of rubber there. That's all it does, is keep it from sliding down the shaft. So I'm going to start with the passenger side headlight extension. And I want to point out that I'm using these seals. This is a Dan Carpenter part number there, and this was the NPD part number there. Now these seals, they come together, like two of these are molded together, and you got to tear them in half. And I'll point out also that the seal appears to do something there on this top edge, but when you come around to the side, it's below the edge of the extension. So I'm hoping that won't be a problem. You know, that means it's metal to metal contact basically. And also I want to point out that these nuts, this is the nuts that come in the kit with the studs. I think they're a 7/16 by the looks of them. If you come to the fender, now mind you, this is an original Ford fender. That one almost fits in that hole. So I know that, I got it stuck. Let me get another one. That one almost fits in that hole. And you can see that one will also basically fit through that hole. It looks like there's some wear there from a previous install. And then this one, you can put the nut right through it. So what I plan to do is, once I get it up in place, I'll put some washers behind there on the stud to help take up any of that space. So I'm going to give it a go, see if I can't get at least one of these on right now. Go for the easy one, I guess. At least that'll hold it in place. That upper one's going to be a challenge because you got to get the, we're going to either, it doesn't matter, nut, washer, everything's got to get in there. Let me try to get the washer on first. I'm going to put a little piece of tape on there on my finger and find that stud. So plan B, I'm going to put some tape around the nut and the washer together while it's on the socket. Maybe I can get it all to start at the same time. It is one nice thing, there's a hole right here at the front of the fender. Now if I get the tape back out, I got the nut to start. Got it. Tricky part is trying to get everything lined up just right. Okay, well, probably fits just as good as it did from the factory. I may play with it a little bit, but that's basically what you have to do. I might put a massage this area just a little bit. It helps to be a little bit of a contortionist. A little bit. Good. Goody, goody, goody. Now, if I can repeat what I did on the other side, with some tape. And I'll point out I probably could use narrower tape. That would help, but ouch. Hey, let me tell you something else. Having trigger fingers doesn't help this at all. My goodness. So I got some tape on there. Since I can't see it, haha, that worked better. Great success. Alright, I think because I did not take this car apart, so I'm figuring this out, the stone guard needs to go next. I looked through the hardware kit, you know, they had bought the boxes of bolts and all that stuff. There's nothing in there that says stone guard or rock guard. And so I had some nut clips. These are just some generic nut clips. Takes a 7/16 headed bolt, and I'm assuming, you know, that this is what it needs. So there's 4 bolts, one here, one here, one here, and one back here that will hold this in place. So I'm going to set it in there and see if I can't make this work. I know that it will fit, and I'm going to use these, as I said, 7/16 headed bolts. And I also should point out that the center support in the back, you can adjust this up and down. So if you need to level this out, you can move it. And it may take some fine tuning for me to get everything where I feel like it needs to be. But at this point, I just want to get this in and start going through all these steps to get it together. Now this one, I'm assuming that the nut clip, let me think here a second, so I can get in the way of the camera. I'm going to assume that the nut clip goes on the center brace and that you tighten the bolt through the stone guard. Again, I didn't take it apart, so I don't know for sure. So I'm going to snug these bolts down. Not sitting quite as level as I want it to, but I am going to center it as best I can between the buckets. A little bit of play here and there, but that's fine. So at this point, I don't want to work on the trim piece just yet, but I'm going to show it to you. So this piece sits on top of this. The difficulty is it has to go underneath the boomerangs. It's wider than the boomerangs. So it's going to take a little effort to get that to sit down inside of that. Those boomerangs overlap that on the ends, right? These pieces here. So I'm not ready to put that in simply because if there's something else that gets in my way, then I need to take that back out. I don't want to have to deal with all this other stuff. Now, there's a set of push pins that go through these holes that hold this on. Nope. There's not. Let me back up. Now, once this is in place and there's some screws that hold it in the back, there's also this piece which is going to be mounted on top of that. And that may take some tweaking as well to get it to fit the way I want it to. And it may have to overlap. Yeah, it's got a cutout on each end right here, so it overlaps the boomerangs. So we'll figure that out. There's a hardware kit in this, and it has what appears to be 6 nuts and these spring-loaded clips, and that will go through these holes. And then back here is a set of screws that go into the back section. So you can see those screws there. Now, there's also these holes on the back or the side. I'm not exactly sure if there's a... No, there is an opening back there in the headlight bucket. I don't know how hard that's going to be to get something in there, and I don't know exactly what goes in there. So I'm going to move on and work on the front bumper and the lower valance. So I'm back in the paint booth area, and I have the rear valance sitting on the floor for the moment. I also have the new bumper and the repainted outer brackets and the short brackets to go up on top to the fender. So I'll be moving this stuff out of the way, but I want to show you, this is the light kit that I'm using, and this is all, I believe, Daniel Carpenter. And this comes with the two little nuts here that go onto the bezel. Now I know I had trouble with the rear of the car getting these nuts to start on that bezel. So I may do a dry run here before I try to put them in the front valance. There's also a gasket that goes with that, and this is the other kit. So I'm going to get this out of the way and put the valance up on top of the stand here. So like I said, I'm going to try a dry run on these because I could not get them to start on the other ones very easily. See, and that's just not, it's not easy to get it going. It just wants to ride on top. So what I'm probably going to end up doing, it's just spinning around on top of that thing. It's not doing anything. I'll have to get that back off of there, but basically it looks like it just created a groove and it's kind of hanging on. So what I'll probably do is take a regular nut and try to create a start point, because it just doesn't want to cut into that. It's just too tough. So let me see what I can come up with. Here's what I've come up with. I have a die, 8NC32, so National Course 32, I guess. And I'm going to pilot some threads onto the end of this. I did it on the other post. And I can't get the handle on here because it hits this post, so I have to do it by hand. By doing that, I found I did it on this side already. I took the nut and ran it down that. So you do what you have to do. I'm going to do that on the other set as well. And then I think I'll just install these, be done with it. See if there's an up. So there's a Ford logo on there, and it's down in this bottom corner, so that'll work fine. It would also help if my ratchet wasn't trying to flip on me, making it more difficult. Much better. There we go. All right, let me get the other side done, and then we'll move on and see what steps I can finish with the bumper. So let's move on to the bumper. I will point out I have new brackets here, and this is the left side, this is the right side. And these were bought through NPD, if I remember correctly. So that's the left side, and that is the right side. There it is. Okay. Now, the reason I did that is because the other ones were just so bad, they weren't worth using. They were heavily pitted, and just, it's worth it to get new ones as long as they're made correctly. So I'm hoping these are made correctly. Now, these bumpers typically have an oil on them, just so you know. There's a light oil. And down here, this is your mount point for your front parking lights. I'm going to wipe this off. Now, as we're looking at this, this is the left hand, which I believe was this one. And so, kind of have to turn it over in your head. That's where that should go. And this being the right hand, that's where that should go. Make sure I'm looking at this right. Yeah. So, what I need to do is get everything in place with the strut brace and this brace, this bracket. And to do that, I have this kit from Scott Drake, a bunch of loose parts on there, but that's the kit that I'm using. This was enough parts, hardware, to do the front and the rear bumper. So I know that the wave washer goes in between the bumper and the bracket. I'm going to put that in there, and bolt through, and put another one. There's no other washers in the kit, like there's no okay, I had these backwards. I started looking at it like this angle right here doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't have that angle going opposite. So, I stand corrected, I had them backwards. That makes more sense now. Sorry about that. Got ahead of myself. Now that angle matches that angle. If I make a mistake, I want to tell you. No, I'm not going to tighten those up yet. I want to get the other pieces. And that should be driver's side. Right? Hey, I got that one right. So, wave washer, bolt, nut. There we go. Look at that, it lines up. Great. Now I probably could have done this on the car, but I wanted to make sure things were going to line up and feel good out here. Now there's two more bolts in here, and those are going to go out on the ends to hold the little brackets. I'm not going to worry about those just yet. I want to make these mildly snug so that I have some play when it actually comes time to set it on the car. Okay, great. Now let's see if we can get it on the car by myself. So what you see here is a blanket on the rock guard, a couple of jack stands on either side, and the idea is that I can bring it in, kind of slide it, sit it on top of the jack stands, and use the blanket to protect the rock guard. At least that's the intent. Let's see if I can make it happen. We shall see. Kind of blocking my view here. Well, it would be even easier if there were two of me. Well, I know the holes do line up. Yes, they should. So, yay! I'm sweating. Oh. Now I have to work on these brackets have slots, so it allows the bumper to move side to side. So I need to figure out where I need the bumper, but it's on, at least. Yeah, it's got to come this way some. So I'll have to loosen up, get this bolt a little looser. There we go. I'm going to get there. I'm going to have to play with it, loosen up stuff, move things around. But like I said, it would be easier with two people. But I'm stubborn. So let me get some adjustments made. Okay, I have the bumper on, and I can tell you that I'm not 100% happy with it. The bumper looks good. I mean, it's fine. It's going to be what it is at this point. I don't have another bumper to use, and I want to show you the problem. Now, this is a dynacorn bumper, and normally what I do is I'll get some sort of measurement here on the side. I'll use my hand as a reference, and that's about 1 knuckle thick right there. And if I come over to this side, I have basically the same thing. So I like that, side to side. And it seems to be that it's fitting nice and centered like it should, but I'm losing my mind because this gap right here. So a little more, I mean, my finger fits in there tight, right? Come over here and, well, it doesn't. Now the problem is the holes in the frame rails, I know they're in the right spot, and the brackets, you can't, I mean, you can modify the holes, modify the brackets, but I found out that isn't the problem. Let me show you what I discovered with this bumper. Now, I'm just doing this as a demonstration. So if I take this tape measure and I kind of zero down, right? I'm at 2 and maybe 5/8 to that edge. Let me back that up. Let me show you exactly where I'm at. I'm right in front of the headlight area where it starts to bend. So 2 and 5/8. Come over to this one. And look at that. I'm same dimension. I mean, same direction. I'm looking straight down on it, and that's 2 3/4. Or I mean, I'm sorry, that's 3 inches. Why? And you can see it. Like if I come back here, here's that first hole in the rock guard, and it's right at 3 inches. Come back to this first hole on this side, and it's 2 3/4. So the dilemma is, why, and what can I do about it? Well, I'm not going to do anything about it because I can't. I'm putting this car together. If somebody wants to deal with that later, they can. It doesn't really hurt anything. It fits fine. It looks fine. It's not a concours show car. We know that. And even at that, we don't know that the original bumper wasn't any better. I assume it was, but that's where I'm at right now. So I'm going to leave that alone. What I have also is some parking lights. Now these they're in dynacorn boxes, by the way. So there's an assembly that's for the passenger side. You'll notice that the nuts are on the top side. So this has to go on top of the bumper and the bolts go up through. So I want to get these in place before I mess with the lower valance, and that should be pretty simple. Just hold them up there and run the bolts in. I have some bolts laying here. I think there they are right there. So I'll get those in place and we'll move on to the valance. Little note for you on these, whenever you're putting them in, before you actually put them up in there, run the bolt through the nut. I found that it did not want to start very easily, and so I took it off and I ran the nut or the bolt into the nut to, cut out the threads a little better. Also, this kind of affects your rock guard trim. That parking light will block your access to the nut on that end shaft that holds the trim piece on. So I got around it, but just so you know. I got to thinking about it, and instead of putting the valance on right now, I want to address this upper trim piece. Now, as I mentioned, there are these 6 posts that go through, and then back here are the screws, and this is the kit that I have. 69 radiator grill opening panel to upper stone guard mounting kit. It has these 4 push pins, and I thought those were part of the process, but I don't know where they go. They do fit in those holes in the front, but that is also where the push pin or the clamps go for the trim piece. So I have these 4 screws, and I have these 4 nuts. I don't know what those are for. Doesn't make any sense. The screws are going to end up, at least from what I can tell, back there. I'm going to hold that in place. So I'll put those in, and then I will assemble the trim piece with the posts that hold that on and put that through those other holes. The only other place that I can see that those push pins may work, I can tell you this, there are 2 push pins in each one of these boomerangs. So I don't know if that was part of that, because these boomerangs, there's the inner piece here is held onto the headlight bucket. There's a push pin here and a push pin here, And I've already used some of those, and I used the other 2 here. So there's 4 used total, and there were 8 in the packet. So I don't know what the other 4 are for. So what I'm going to do is put in these screws, assemble that piece, and try to get it in. Oh, the other thing I was trying to say, there's in the back, there's a hole here. It's an oblong hole, and I don't know what went in that. You see that right there, and that is hard to get to. That is, there's a hole back there in the headlight bucket, but I don't know what needs to go in that. So I'm going to get what I can together and move on from there. This trim piece, it's pretty soft. It's easy to manipulate or bend if you need to bend the tabs on the backside where I'm putting the screws. Very light gauge aluminum, you know, very soft. So I had to move it around a little to get the forward holes to line up, and it also I had to put it underneath the ends of the boomerang just a little bit. Now this trim piece, it'll sit over top of the boomerangs, and I had to figure out which way does it go because it just doesn't feel quite right. As I looked it over, I realized that the end had like a cutout area, and part of that is probably to get these clips in, but it also overlaps the boomerang, so there's a relief on the end of that. Now these clips, let me tell you, they go in nice in one direction, but when you go in or you have to move them, if one direction works, like sliding it from, I don't know which way, left to right or whatever, they'll go that direction. But if you go, let's say, right to left, they don't want to move. So I ended up using a small screwdriver to relieve that little tang, like pry it away just slightly so I could slide that little clip one way or the other. So it took a few tries. I finally got all of the bolts to line up. And as I was saying earlier, you kind of reach behind that parking light is a little bit easier if you didn't have the parking light in there. So do the rock guard trim first, and then do the parking lights just to make it easier. So with that trim piece in place, as I said before, I put the screws in this back section, and then the forward trim piece, and there's still a hole underneath this headlight on both sides, and I don't know what goes in there, so I'm just going to have to leave that alone for now. Now the Valance has, well, it's hard to figure out. I have this kit here, it says Valance kit, and it has 10 bolts and 8 nut clips, and then I also have these support brackets. These I know where they'll go. That's going to attach to this outer corner here, and then attach to the bumper bracket. So if you do the math and you go, okay, I've got 8 clips, but there is, and if you count them all, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm not going to count that one, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 holes. And you also have these holes up here, which are for the bumper bracket piece, and that is what I have laying here. So what I have to figure out is, does it actually require 4 bolts at this location? Now what I was looking at is this fender on my Mach 1, which is an original fender, Ford, and there is a recess here and a recess here, meaning you could put a nut clip at either or both of those locations, but I don't know that it's necessary. And the reason I say that is these are so close together, like you have, this one is only 2.5 inches from this one, and then your next support is here. So I'm going to try to just do this one and see if I need to add something else later, because I only have 8 nut clips. Now another thing I want to point out is I don't have the grill that came with this car. I have this grill, which was brought to me as a backup grill, but I found out it's broken. Pieces are missing, so I can't use it. This is the grill that was in my Mach 1, and it's not going to be usable anyway. But I do have a new grill, and this is from NPD. Now this grill does not come with any of the hardware, like to hold the trim ring like this, and I don't see anything in the master kit for that. So I'm going to have a little hard time getting those pieces together. Also, I have this kit right here, and that is supposed to be the grill installation kit. But it has 7 items, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those I believe are push pins, and then 1 is a nut plate, and 1 is a screw. So none of that really corresponds very well, and I'll show you that later on when I get to that point. So I'm going to work on putting some nut clips on the fenders and on the bottom of the headlight buckets, and trying to get everything in place so I can put the valance up in where it needs to go. Now the lower valance, I made a couple little mistakes, but it was quickly fixed. So I used those nut plates that I talked about earlier, and I thought that they went onto the fender. If you do that, that means the bolt has to go up through the bottom side of the valance flange. And so I was putting it together, and I started in the center. This was simple enough. Just ran that center bolt in, and then started putting them up near the headlight buckets. Ran those bolts in, and that'll hold the whole thing. So I started looking at this, and I realized, oh, wait a minute. If I do it this way, I have to run the bolts straight up. So what I did is I took the clips back off of the fenders, and I put them onto the valance panel, and that way you could run the bolt straight down through the fender into the valance panel, and it makes a lot more sense. You just have to think about it, I guess. I tightened up the bolts, started in the middle, and just went to each headlight bucket area and tightened those up, and then I went to the fender side, and of course tightened those up. The valance actually lines up very nice. This is an original panel. I did work on this panel. It had some dents and stuff in it, so I was confident that it would fit these fenders, and it did fit. I had to massage this side a little, just kind of push it inward to make it line up with the fender better. And then I was just looking it over, making sure everything was right. Here I'm setting up the hinges because I want to put the hood on, and I always use a great big wrench and just pull that spring over the end of the hinge. Now make sure you put the wrench on the opening side of the spring, and you hook it so that you can take the wrench off. So I think I am ready to hang the hood. I'm going to see if I can get Roger to come over and give me a hand. Can't do much else with the front. The valance is on, lights are in. The grill is just sitting here for the moment. I want to verify the hardware that is needed to put that in place. So I'll pull that out of the way to put the hood on, just so we don't have the screwdriver fighting with it. And of course I will need to put in the hood pins, and the hood itself needs the silver stainless discs that go on top where the hood pins go. So I have the hood hinges up and ready to go. Just waiting to see if Roger's available, and he can help me with this, hopefully.
Huh? It's not as heavy as I expected. It's going to go anywhere. We have to take it back off. It's not catching. Alright. Lift up a little in front. Shoot. Don't pull away from me. Sorry. Sorry. Well, that didn't work. Okay. We're going to do that over. I'm going to swap out these nut plates. That's not good. Round 2. Got it. You know, I was watching a video of them putting together a Mustang on the assembly line, and they just had like a brace or something. They set it in. You guys would just set it and walk away, or like come up and just put the bolts in.
Wow.
Like it just sat in a track or something.
That'd be handy.
Yeah.
It's got to go that way.
No, it doesn't. It can't. I know it's overhanging right now, right? Yeah, look at this side. It's actually...
That messes with your head.
It's actually how it works. Because when it comes
Slide right
down...
back. Yep, I get it now.
So, at this point, this side probably needs to come forward. This side's probably pretty close. So I'm going to move this side forward. I don't remember where it was positioned previously on the slots. So this needs to come this way. All right, it's on. Okay, the hood is on, and I'm pretty happy with the results. The gap is a little bit wide here at the front. I don't know if that's going to make much difference overall. I could probably try to tune that a little bit more. And this side has a really nice consistent gap. It lines up well. The cowl and the hood line up very well together, as expected. And I think the only things I have left to do is put the trim piece on the front here on the hood. The grill is just sitting in there. It is not attached. I got to get some more, figure out the hardware for that. And I have installed one of the Valance brackets. I had to get the other one in place. I need some nut plates to make that complete. And I'm not putting the chin, this did not have a chin spoiler, so I'm not putting that on. Of course, the lights are there. The only real issue that I've run into, aside from trying to figure out the hardware, is that bumper being odd dimensions. And I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know why that even happens. It is what it is at this point. I'm very happy overall with how this looks. I'm pretty excited about it. I will have a replacement trim ring coming. The one that was on this car had a crack in it. I didn't find it till later, so I'm going to get another one of those and some headlight trim rings go around these headlights. And other than these few little things that I have to address, the bulk of it is done. So the hood pins have to go in as well, I should mention that, and the little silver stainless rings that go on top of the hood, and of course the cables that hold all that together. But that's pretty minor things at this point. I think it's looking really good. I'm very happy with it. So that'll be the end of this video. Now, I hope you've been watching the videos or the whole series of this Cobra Jet. The playlist is called Crunchy Cobra Jet. I want to point out that I have literally, I don't know, well over 1,000 videos on YouTube documenting Mustangs, some Camaros, various other repair stuff that I've done. If you would, leave a comment, a thumbs up. Let YouTube know that you're still watching this stuff. I get the impression my channel is somewhat dying. YouTube doesn't promote me at all, and my views go down, my revenue goes down, and it's a struggle to keep making these videos, to be honest. But I want to thank my patrons for doing what they do. My patrons support me and help me continue to make these videos, and without them, as I've said before, I don't know that I'd even continue doing this. I hope you like these videos. I hope that you're still watching them. But that's all I have to say at this point. So thanks for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.